We TV fans ate well in 2024. Whether you have Apple, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO, or all of the above, there was so much great content to consume on the TV side this last year. I managed to watch a lot of the popular and acclaimed shows this last year, and then some, and I'm here to count down my top 10 favorite TV shows of 2024. Keep in mind, as I always say, this is my subjective opinion. If there's anything on here where you wish it was on here, and there's so many TV shows out there, maybe I haven't even seen it, or there's something here that you didn't like, or wish was higher or lower, let me know, and I would love to continue the conversation in the comments below. Kicking it off for me at number 10 is Ripley. This Netflix series really blew me away, and I've already seen, of course, The Talented Mr. Ripley with Matt Damon and Jude Law, and so this story isn't necessarily that different. It's an adaptation of the same book, but the execution is it takes a very different approach, let's say. Andrew Scott, I'm not trying to compare and contrast these versions, by the way. I love the movie version. I love this version. But Andrew Scott's version of Tom Ripley is a much older, much sadder, much lonelier and darker portrayal of than even the movie did of Tom Ripley. Number 9, Shrinking. I remember having this on my list last year for the first season and thinking that it was a really fun, really great comedy show, a really feel-good show overall, but season 2 transcends that into a really moving piece of television that honestly I didn't want this season to end. It's of course still a very warm show and hysterical, very, very funny, but it also pushes its characters out of their comfort zones and makes them make decisions that at times are the hardest in their lives. Jason Segel is so wonderful as this character. I think he even surpasses his work in How I Met Your Mother, especially his father-daughter dynamic with Lukita Maxwell, which I think is the strongest of all the many dynamics in Shrinking Season 2. Especially in the end, he has a scene with her that moved me so much and made me even think of my own relationship with my dad, and I'm just choking up thinking about how beautiful that scene is. Jessica Williams, also phenomenal. Harrison Ford giving like one of his best performances ever. I'm not even kidding. The show at its core is not afraid to ask the difficult and ugly questions about redemption and forgiveness, but it's also just incredibly entertaining at the same time and feels like a warm hug of a show. Number 8, Shogun. Let me just start by saying this has probably the best set design I've ever seen in a TV show. Hiroyuki Sanada finally being the main role in a Hollywood project, and he brings so much soul and nuance and conflict to Lord Toranaga. Anna Sawai is this heartbreaking and commanding and self-destructive but imposing character. Cosmo Jarvis is also great as this Englishman who washes up in Japan and starts a very interesting bond with Lord Toranaga, even though they don't even speak the same language. The action and cinematography are beautiful, but it also knows when to pull back on the action and be more about the themes and the characters. Themes like nobility and honor and values and seemingly conflicting cultures and worldviews coexisting and working together. It also questions the necessity for violence, whether it is seeking for power or to defend oneself from harm. I feel like you could take any different part of it, whether the writing or the shots or the action or the performances, and on their own, it's already amazing. But altogether, it creates an amazing first season of Shogun. Number 7, Fallout. I don't even know how I got to watching a show about Fallout. Like, I've never touched any of the games. I heard great things, and I know it's from the creators of Westworld, which is one of my favorite shows. So I clicked on it, and about the 30-minute mark of the first episode, there's a scene that's so like booming with originality that even when it stumbles in some of the storylines, it's so self-aware and dark and gleefully tackles very serious questions like human nature and the impending threat of nuclear war. I loved the retro futurism. I loved the action. Ella Purnell in particular makes the whole show with her magnetic performance. A lot of shows these days love doing plot twists in their season finale. Fallout's is definitely one of the best. The way it literally flips your entire view on everything that came before on its axis is just so phenomenal, and I really can't wait for more. Number 6. Hacks. There's a lot of great comedy shows that came out this year, and I'm going to be talking about a few more in my honorable mentions, but Hacks takes the cake for 2024 in its 3rd season. Jean Smart, the amazing Jean Smart as Deborah Vance, is a character that's so, I guess, resistant to change, but also curious about where her career could go. But Hannah Einbinder this season is so good. I'm not sure how she didn't get the Emmy and the Golden Globe. I was really rooting for her to win things. Her performance in this is so magnificent. There's this amazing dynamic between the two women. They elevate each other, but they also ruin each other's lives by the fact that they need each other professionally so much. You see how like Ava's pull to Deborah is almost like a drug that destroys everything else in her life. But every episode in this season is not only hysterical, but stands on its own. Whether the women are going to play golf or lost in the woods or at a freaking college campus because Deborah needs to apologize for an insensitive joke. And the ending to this season is such a fantastic moment that makes the entire ride of this season even more worth it. Number 5, disclaimer. I think I loved this miniseries more than most, but the emotion here and the style from Alfonso Cuarón is just so powerful. It really casts a spell on you for 7 episodes. Cate Blanchett is amazing. Kevin Kline giving, I think, his career best performance as a man who is so filled with emptiness that's turned into vengeance. If anything brings this show down at some points, it's the inconsistent cinematography styles or the overuse of narration, which I found kind of irritating. But overall, I found the script and the melodrama all worked for me. We've talked about twist endings already. This one is so thoughtful and revealing. I had no words at the end of the last episode. It was so powerful. And I think, you know, Alfonso Cuarón, if you like his other works, you should give this a chance. Number 4, True Detective Night Country. Funny story, I was actually going to film this video a week ago from when I'm filming it now. Let's say I was going to film it on a Saturday. I started True Detective Season 4 on Friday, and the first episode wowed me so much, I ended up pushing filming this video because I had a feeling this was going to make my list. I've had my pacing issues with True Detective before. The first season is excellent. 3rd season is really good, and Mahershala Ali is great in it. The 2nd season made no sense. I didn't like it at all. But even at its best, there were times when this show was slow for me. I never felt that for a minute in season 4. The setting, which is like in the city Ennis, Alaska, with the 2 main characters played wonderfully by Jodie Foster and Kaylee Reese. Jodie giving one of her best performances ever, I think, and Kaylee Reese being just incredible as well. The mystery I felt really paid off, especially because it was so rooted in the characters and how much we continue to learn about their anger and their drive for the main case. Number 3, Slow Horses. I actually watched all 4 seasons of Slow Horses this last fall with my dad, and it was such a great time. The first 2 are very good. 3 and 4 are excellent. Like, out of all the spy and espionage TV shows I've seen, and I've seen a lot, I think Slow Horses is the best of the modern batch. Gary Oldman just giving this phenomenal performance as his character. Jack Lowden is great. Kristen Scott Thomas, Rosalind Eleazar. The dialogue is just genius. And that's a big thing about Slow Horses. The writing is always respecting the intelligence of its audience. It's never just action for action's sake The stakes always feel like there's some danger coming your way, particularly in this fourth season with Hugo Weaving doing such a great job as the villain. Number 2, Industry. This show also, I watched all 3 seasons a couple months ago, and yeah, I just absolutely loved it. I still don't understand a single thing about investing after watching it, but the characters and the style, the directing in it, the editing, the music, the performances in this show, particularly Marisa Abela leading the crew, is stunning in this show. The settings, the way the characters are challenged and betray each other sometimes, particularly Marisa Abela and Myha'la, their characters have a really interesting dynamic. Like, they're very much ride or die friends, but also continue to work against each other's interests. This, I'm guessing, is a show not many of my viewers have watched, but I loved it so much, and I feel like it would be a disservice not to put it this high. Now, before we get to number 1, I want to talk about some honorable mentions. First of all, 2 superhero shows that I greatly enjoyed: The Boys Season 4 and The Penguin. The Penguin I almost put on the list. Really sad I didn't have room for it. Also, The Bear Season 3. Really great stuff, even though it's a pretty big step down from 1 and 2. Basically the same thing I would say for Only Murders in the Building Season 4. Very enjoyable, very fun, just not as good as the last 3. Presumed Innocent, a really strong courtroom show with a great Jake Gyllenhaal performance. Nobody Wants This, a show that I had like 0 expectations for, and ended up loving the chemistry between Kristen Bell and Adam Brody, and it's just a hilarious show overall. And my last honorable mention will be Three Body Problem, a show that is really smart, really patient, asks a lot of big questions about the universe and what our first contact with the extraterrestrial might look like. It's a really, really good show. I highly recommend it on Netflix. And my number 1 favorite TV show of 2024 is without a doubt Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I originally had no interest in watching this show. I watched the first episode on a whim because I was hearing the awards buzz for it, and now it's been, I think, close to a year since I saw it, and I just can't stop thinking about it. Donald Glover and Maya Erskine have magical chemistry in this. I've said this in a video that I straight up dedicated to this show. The style and the script has so much wit, has so much surprise in them. It's, again, a show that respects its audience so much. It continues to make you uncomfortable or gasp or laugh hysterically. And I really didn't expect that from a Mr. and Mrs. Smith show. The acting, the chemistry, the writing, it's all brilliant. I did not want this 8-episode show to end. I don't know what they're doing now with the second season. It looks like the plan as of now was to make one with a new Mr. and Mrs. Smith couple, but I really do hope they do something again with Donald Glover and Maya Erskine, because I just love these 2 characters so much, and I absolutely adored this show. And I think ever since I saw it, it has stayed in the number 1 spot. So yeah, there you have my top 10 TV shows of 2024. I really did struggle making this list because there were so many great ones. I feel like, for me at least, I had the most contenders for best TV this year than I have had in any other year. Maybe I'm just watching more new shows, I'm not sure. But genuinely, there are some that I put as honorable mentions that I really was hoping would have room in the top 10. So that just goes to show how wonderful of a year it was for TV shows. And 2025 is already gearing up to be a great year for TV. As I'm recording this, a show that topped my end of the year TV list a couple years ago just returned for its new season, and I'm sure that I'm going to be talking about it much more on this channel soon. Let us see if you can guess what that show is in the comments. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. I'm waiting to hear your thoughts on this list below and continue the conversation. And as always, stay tuned for more movie and TV content here on the channel.